Helado Negro, Phasor album review. Let's chat about it. Hey friends, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning here tonight to chat about this latest album from Helado Negro. Florida-based singer, songwriter Roberto Carlos Lang. He has been at it since the late 2000s, and I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you, a lot of his early projects I really did not care for that much. Albums like Canta Lechuza and Ow, these are two of his first albums, and at the time, I mean, there were some things that I did definitely salute about the record. Like, for one, I thought some of the subtle electronic beats were nice, and his use of sampling, but the lo-fi aesthetics and some weaker songwriting here and there just really did not make me invest myself in this project. However, with Invisible Life, Helado Negro's music did start to really speak to me a little bit more. The production was immensely better, night and day even, and the much more intricate beats and rhythms that Helado Negro was working with were much more to my interest. And I had a lot of feelings, the same feelings on Double Youth as well. I felt like I was really coming around to Helado Negro's music. But 2016's Private Energy, while people were very much so up in arms about this thing, I was kind of lukewarm to it. I felt like I had just really got into the groove of Roberto's music, and this album was too much of a departure for me. Now, I will say this, 2019's This Is How You Smile, I was a little reluctant going into it and checking it out the first time, but the hype is real. I do think it's one of his best records. This, to me, was Roberto really finding the right medium for his sound. Just the perfect structure of these really subtle beats that were easy to get lost in, but also his vocals were incredibly just strong, powerful, divine. This whole album had such a pureness to it as well. It makes me smile. Now, the last time we heard from Helado Negro was 2021 with Far In. And for the most part, I did enjoy a bulk of this record, almost as much as the album that came out before it. But on one hand, this thing was really bloated, and it had no right being over an hour and 10 minutes long. But on the plus side, Buscabulla's on there, and that's cool. Now, it's been a few years, and I did find myself enjoying quite a few of the singles leading up to this thing. Let's chat about this. This album starts off with LFO, aka Lupe Finds Oliveros, and originally as a single, I'm going to be totally blunt with you, I wasn't up in arms about it. I wasn't overly wild about it, but there is a joyousness to this track that is so infectious. It's upbeat, it's light on the ears, it's definitely got an old school psychedelic rock and psychedelic pop feel to it. It's also got a really great little jam about halfway through. It's not perfect, but I do think that this is a very joyous, uplifting start to this record. However, Helado Negro really does return with I Just Want to Wake Up Next to You, which is easily one of the more interesting tracks here. This track is immediately much more my style. It's really warm and super inviting, and the rhythms on this track are just so easy to cozy up to. On top of that, Roberto sounds amazing. It's warm and cozy, and these rhythms are just so inviting, and Roberto's vocals are just, icing on the cake. They really do melt my heart. And that is something all around. These are all elements that Roberto has been focusing on the last few years, and he's done well with it. It's a truly hypnotic track, just full of love and joy and good vibes. It's also fairly steamy. I mean, Roberto sounds like he's been boning up on his Sade lately. And that goes double for Best for You and Me. I love this track. Every time this comes on, it puts me in a good mood. Once again, the production, shout-outs, because this track sounds so great. And vocal-wise, Roberto continues to impress me. It's another very intimate, quiet track that's just really nice for cuddling up by the fire. Not only that, as Roberto has, continued to craft his sound over the years, I'd argue that it's just gotten more and more universal. And personally, I like that. Now, I hate to say this, though, but some of the more subtle, quiet moments on this album are not for me, and I don't know why that's the case. I kind of feel like some of them bring me back to the early days of Helado Negro, where I was not really vibing on his music that much. Like Colores del Mar, for example. This is really phoned in. God, this instrumental is just so dime a dozen and ho-hum. There is absolutely nothing to it. And with that, the rest of this track kind of falls apart. From a songwriting stance, I think this is the weakest track here. And like, I do respect the more Folktronica direction of this track. There's a few, moving pieces here and there that sound cool, but overall, this to me is phoned in. And that goes double for Flores. I don't know why this track just gets so much less interesting, the things that quiet down. And listen, this track is super sweet on the ears, really enjoyable from a distance. I mean, if this was the middle of the summer and I was just chilling out, I wouldn't skip this track. But in the sense of this album here, this really isn't up to snuff. Roberto sounds like he's about to pass out. And without a captivating backdrop, you could just sign me out. And Es Una Fantasia as a finale, it's just okay. Now don't get me wrong, his vocal performance, Roberto's vocals on this track, are stunning. And not only that, it may just be his most intimate recording on this album. But once again, I feel like he's really phoning it in here. I mean, this track is a slog for the first 2 minutes. And yeah, things improve when that acoustic riff comes, thumping in eventually. But then the second that it kind of leaves, the rest of this track falls apart. I just know we can do better because he proves that he can do a lot better. Like Echo Tricks Me, for example, about halfway through the album. This track is awesome. Like for a left field, weirdo Folktronica tune, look no further. It just got so much of a full sound to it. Like here, Roberto's vocals and this very off-kilter, very hard to place instrumental come together and make magic. This instrumental is constantly shifting, constantly changing, but Roberto's vocals do what they should, and that's fill in the gaps. It's meditative and easy to get lost in, but it's also warm and inviting. It also shows Roberto really pushing himself and going for a more experimental sound. This track it from all around just makes me happy. Out There, on the other hand, is one of the busiest and headiest tracks here. Good luck keeping track of this. Bustling synth, really hypnotic riff, there's a lot going on. This is the most upbeat track here, and in Roberto's own way, this is his most urgent offering in quite some time. And on top of that, he does all this while sticking with the themes and sounds of this album. It's really impressive. And the results are just so cool because there are so many rhythms that I get lost in on this track. It's pretty meditative stuff. I love the chanting, the jammy passages as well. It really does seem like a modern neo-psych journey, and I'm all for it. And finally, I Wish You Could Be Here may be the coolest track here. It's so layered, it's so unbelievably textured, and most importantly, you can tell that a lot of these tracks just came so easy to Roberto. I love how haunting yet soothing his vocals are on this track, and the layers and layers of synths. Truthfully, if you had to grab a track here just to sum this album up, it'd probably be this one. And I love how much it genuinely picks up for the end here. This is just another very solid album from Helado Negro. Now, yes, there are some really awkward moments that he just clearly seems like he's phoning it in. My issue is a lot of the softer tunes here, and I hate to be that guy, but a lot of them do fall apart fairly quickly, or, quicker than I expected. But overall, this is just another very interesting, very light on the ears, very loving, very joyous album from Helado Negro, and there is nothing wrong with that. I am feeling a light 7 on this album, but let me know what you all think down below. If you like the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, friends.